Thick storm clouds cracked by lightning cake the sky, swirling violently around the Vanta black obelisk, a defiled monument to represent the ominous continents of brutality and deep wounds were all felt cursed, something to represent the well-churned Welshmers while gluttons milk power people in places till their belts burst. Belly swelling dense, belly swelling dense. Cheapen tragedy and hope with the majesty and smoke of invisible hands sending down corrupted puppet strings. Reverse Midas touch span expanses where nothing sings a tune that cannot be reused and punked by kings, and turn the atmospheres engineered to complacency. Voices fought for space to be heard and saw the signs of no vacancy. Voices fought for space to be heard and saw the signs of no vacancy. Vile elements pollute in a political and literal sense. Belly swelling dance behind a white picket barbed wire fence. Drown in money as others drink lead and water and are led into a slaughter sermons begging peasants from a golden altar. Offer a little more than empty gospels to those housed in leaking hostels. Preconceived hatreds are nourished and coddled. Throttled full speed with buzzwords out of grunts comes. Remodeled status quo, acting hero that is unsung. Speaking prayer with no action perpetuated. The dysfunction keeps the sheep on their knees that never question such customs. Atomization leaves the culture disheveled, diseased at all levels. The AI generated commercials with no reticence. The propaganda turning the weak into menaces. The whole town laid off with no severances. The company stealing water to mass produce beverages. The man called a woman murdered for identity. The voices of victims silenced to protect celebrities. The child shot by law enforcement and those who cheer the action. The violence of a pill mill sitting in the hopelessness it basks in. The vulnerable preyed on in a crumbling system. The innocent rotting away in a high security prison. The contractors paid from an imperialist mission. The disregard for another's material condition. The drug dealer poisoning other families to feed his own. The opportunist who stole everything he owned and killed him in his home. The mental crisis denied treatment with budget cuts. The coward who fights minorities and believes he punches up. The reaction of violence being calls for peace. The peaceful protest crushed by violence by those who call for peace. The fear of terrorism blamed on single demographics. The fear of those demographics turned the persecution complex. The complex issue boiled down to an easy enemy. The easy enemy flag to redirect enmity. The false attribution believing dissent to be merely evil. The revolutionary too pretentious to speak to common people. The reactionary who feeds off said pretension to turn a profit on all those who watch the chaos and are powerless to stop it. Powerless to stop it. Powerless to stop it. Powerless to stop it. Ice chamber below a frozen dark hangar. Ice mallet pounded broke to echoes and icicles twice riddled. Empty space occupied with vibration chimes pacing, waiting vacancies made thin. Cosmic shadows thick shaded cross the moon's surface. Speckled white dots laid on night sky perches. Rhythmic lullabies trans galaxies fast asleep. Masked in deep reverb, relaxed and passive beats. Tongue slung on sunlit drums, flung in odyssey. Cross-fingered normalcy cloaking dreadnought mockery. Basked in obscure red shifted gilly in the mist. Sound wave shed skin with chilly whisks of fists. Stirred turbid crest of black and blue metal sense settles in thick slow rumbles of some metal sediment. Winds of fire, hail and noise and bends that tire, stale and moist and dense. Floods that lend their voice in drenched lungs of mired poison. To the beat beat of no one's drum, oblique rung, askew and speaks of crumbs, their peaks glum. Pain silhouetted apparition, holder of a shouldered past position, never fit into the rat's race, stepper out of tune, lax pace. Pluto orbit, heterodox, recluse, pseudo-human screws in the head loose. Exsanguinated vitality in public quarters, aura arcane misconfigured, lockstep schlep, ebbing toward a insular safe haven, maven of the fine art of evasion, day in day out, eggshell unicycle, tightrope walk, small talk, gaff prone outside the hidden refuge, sometimes mistaken for a panic-ridden deaf mute. Wallflower shiver and shakes, quivers in place, in the face of the smallest gestures, withers and breaks. To the beat of no one's drum, oblique rung, askew and speaks of crumbs, their peaks glum. Pain silhouetted apparition, holder of a shouldered past position, never fit into the rat's race, stepper out of tune, lax pace. Pluto orbit, heterodox, recluse, pseudo-human screws in the head loose. Shrunken violets form from old wounds, blemished like the surface of a cold moon. Cactus-skinned introvert that holds true, unseen on the grapevine that molds views, burned by years of chaos and torment. Learned isolation to avoid the torrents. Chance to connect seems forever dormant. Made attempts to trust but could never form it. To the beat of no one's drum, oblique rung, askew and speaks of crumbs, their peaks glum. Pain silhouetted apparition, holder of a shouldered past position, never fit into the rat's race, stepper out of tune, lax pace. Pluto orbit, heterodox, recluse, pseudo-human screws in that head loose. The sun couldn't kindle sparks in their darkness, the wind couldn't clear their mind of the heartless, long since lost their luster for a dull essence, going through the motions and annulled presence, rarely present outside and isolated, keep physically here, mentally out and cannot be reached. Synapses well distorted, grip the mind with bleak, struggles to find comforts even in deep sleep. Inner demons screaming in their timid frame, frigid pain beaming through them like a violent flame, dead pan with an inner riot building steam. Heart and mind breaking at the wilting seams, implanted with the seeds of suppressed emotion, self-expression beaten down till they repress the notion. Wary of intentions with a grayed out vision, afraid to show their hand for fear it may be bitten. To the beat of no one's drum, oblique rung, askew and speaks of crumbs, their peaks glum. Pain silhouetted apparition, holder of a shouldered past position, never fit into the rat's race, stepper out of tune, lax pace. Pluto orbit, heterodox, recluse, pseudo-human screws in that head loose. Scenario, a hostage situation in a spacious basement. In the rooms adjacent, bodies littered on the pavement. Graven malcontents with foul intent are now debating the next maneuver. Dim in future by the fact they're cased in on all sides. Playing the hand they've got, obviously not a lot. Didn't get the guap and they shot it out with the cops trapped. Strapped to the brim of their figures, masked, clasped in their hands are the fixtures of what little power they maintain in their circumstance. The reins of escape are now turned to a burned-up chance. The negotiating chips are face down, bound and gagged. This position fears stricken, entire plights is sounding bad. But outside arrived a man who was wreathed in it, strides in with pride, giving a rundown, briefed on with details from the chief, of which pertains to the gravity of how quick this can flip from routine into tragedy. He was the knife, a lone wolf, elite mercenary, loose cannon to his bones. The police were prey away from hostages. Bullets dodging the miss. Movement of a ninja and gorilla, he's on top of this. Hunting knife, pokes the neck, slashing with a mutant seal. But he had to know to threat the last one with a human shield. He's barking out demands to the knife to drop what's in his hands, or he'll take the life of this man for his last stand. He's thinking of a plot, but is struck with a sinking feeling. Then he sees something twinkling from the ceiling. A thrown blade, it had missed the hearts of its target. Harnessed in this very moment was quotient as an artist of masterclass schemes that would seem impossible, that solidified the extreme to which he was unstoppable. Impaled into the wood, it's hanging on by a hair above. Delicately balanced, he could use this to stare the thug. He dropped his knife and popped off foe, angry, stomping on the floor. The blade wobbled while he toppled, feigning, luring the outlaw more into elation, thinking there's a way out for sure. The vibrations dislodged the knife, it turned and bored directly through the shooter's skull. His gun clattered to the ground, dead weight drop. His brain matters now all around. The knife freed the hostages, he's cutting off all their straps. They praise their savior who ended this traumatic act.
Who are you?
Someone said,
You completely saved my life.
he replied to the man, they call me the knife. The man looked him up and down, front to back, and then he went and asked,
Why do they call you that?
An empty suit sings a callous ballad laced sounds with othering. The media cycle keeps the populace face down and smothering through colorful commercials full of tirades and promises, and a trendy enemy the audience admonishes. A pair of putrefied eyes clutch the nuclear football, the power to plunge the whole world of practicing their soot crawl. For now they lionize violent times with vibrant lies, buzzed off the smoke of scorched flesh while the pilot flies, giving gifts from civilization that break their own codes of conduct. Salivate at the thought of all the boats the bomb struck. Saber rattlers, it is every brawn addict's vice to ship kids to crossfire with every pawn sacrificed. It's cashed in like the most rotten form of court's courtship, and its massive hype packaged in a cult of corpse worship made by sin the crypts, propped up by the syndicates. Stand as monuments to the jingoist follies where they send the kids, while empty bellies vote to keep their party with the full clip casted ballots, shipping bullets by the pallet from the pulpit. Soldiers of fortune in black gold remove, sold her to the orcs tune that acts so behoove. Criminalize the homeless as billions go overseas. Darker skin, pose to bleed, inscribed by notaries, stamped and approved in every genocide signature. A collage of bloody hands which rinse and hide ligatures, tied to inhumane industrialized pilfering. Avarice grasps at resources, it swills and rings to its gullet while brainwashing drips off the lips. Sits bloated while the whole world is cooked on a stick. Spoil system in the mix, so our crooks get their fix. Civilians slip and fall from power trips of the rich. Batten down the hatches, they battle with their hatchets. Message in a bottle that hatches as the black smoke rises and matches. Dark clouds that hover over war-torn patches, or hovels of the groveling masses who sacrifice life, limb, and children. Get to see the few who will win. Those at the summit keep power that still flashes, regardless of whatever the dominating flag is. It's ultimately the picking through the rubble classes who end up being bashed in by the madness. Elite sponges hunger for blood to spill with a wet resonance. Counterfeit empathy for common folk with just sentiments. Disgraced waste, weighted with bated breath, fated and gets estimates on which of the hated fraternities is voted best pestilence. It's time to set precedence. Choice was between a walking corpse, a useless cop, a man-child, and his pet president. Leopards eating faces party have a Valhalla meal. Accelerationist ecstatic that this action will not yield. I rap until the mic is worn, then I spark a swarm of all storms that damage your mortal form. I serve a lesson, while wizard weave words as weapons, rise written to a roaring world war, swirling swords, scorching them over the core, torn through hordes, till the ciphers drenched in blood and gore. A battlefield of rappers, singed callously where talents bleed these foul maladies, the fallacies. Six styles set out, aimed at loud MCs, pounded by mountain debris, roasted at 1,000 degrees, the raw torture, aimed at drawn quarter, while I lead a principality of pin fatalities. On this open mic I close them tight, while soaked this by you through a token strike and was left with a broken right. This golden knight rides a beat swinging a battle axe, hacking packs with attacks from primal raps till the vinyl cracks. And in the final tract I deliver spinal taps and cycle back through the whole process until your vitals flat. And this is just half the skill of a rough draft on a path to still every fan you can attract. One pen and pad impact, doing it for your bars, even the studio audience will boo you through the laugh tracks. So stand back, because owner of wax to paint portraits of pain, focused to ingrain the quality of an opus. Then I will picture you so vividly, effortlessly tear you out of the frame. I walk around spouting flames, so when the crowd gasses you up, I spit fire on this white phosphorus esophagus. The hotness of a lava that's the Celsius is anomalous. This stream of heat up to the ocean's bottomless, call my bitch turning to stone. Behold the structure that becomes the sarcophagus. Any mic I run behind, it's a stunning crime how I spun a rhyme hot enough to make the sun resign. With a violent spray that even if it misses, turns to waterways that burn away your vertebrae. Nothing you rhyme is dope. I can body you with nothing more than silence and lighter notes. You so raw with you flow, I'm gonna shine you when I choke, even when I say nothing in these places but in quotes. I move swiftly through a spit of missing thesis, break down your spirit of play things you pick up with the pieces. All across the felt, I ain't cross the pelvic, causing spells of balls to hell, a monster yells as hard as sauces rosters fell. Feel the heat secrete, perform a neat retreat from repeat defeat. When this elite speaks, rapping a cappella, I break new ground, plant the seeds for growth and proceed to climb the peak. When you try to reach my level, I'll kill you on a tempo. When I rip out your heart and start rhyming to the beat, your vain threats will only hope you to be slain next, reduced to dust. While others stay at bay, vex at my lowest skill, I reach high and cave and chest rise a little more, and when my beat on the scalp of your apex. Even my herbal remedies murder enemies at their verbal extremities and throw curveballs at MCs. Put simply, I come in war battle rhymes, accorded big L similes, and rebuilt meta-riddles. Now answer plea, for all of infinity, your victory was never meant to be. Feed the vicinity, no level of divinity can defend from me, an untouchable entity that is ending leagues plentifully. Now to a pending scene, transition to a mission, hunting in the skies with precision thermal vision, atom splitting incisions, fission bomb munitions, land with on-point collisions at the moment of emission, imprisoned in a small prism, put the cataclysm at the end of a line and stick it to a hook. First rapper to bite might get spotted outright, shatter the sprites, bright radiance while I bask in the light. Sitting on a throne, MCs keep their eyes on, preparing rap damages, arm and surprise buns. So when they show themselves, I throw a rhyme over their head and think to myself, got a live one. As the weight of the bar chars in the mind, it'll gain the state of a star during the end of its run. By the time you wise up, your time's done. The life from your attempt to outshine me is caught in the event horizon. I'm an audible catastrophe because in all capacity, skill to blow minds and spill on the tapestry. This whole scene is a travesty that has to be blasphemy, even passively smashing beats with unmatched savagery. My own rhymes battle me, see deep within my skull, raid into my brain, then turn to razor blades. Then I rampage on a rage with the 12 gauge stages, a cage wage world in any sage.